Hi guys, so this video is long overdue. Sorry for the lighting and the mess in the background, but if I don't record this now, I probably never will. It's almost 11:30 at night. Both my husband and my son are sleeping, so I just thought I'd take advantage. So this is my labor and delivery story. My baby boy, his name is Elijah Arrow. He's 3 months already. That's why I say this video is long overdue. But the first time I got an ultrasound, I believe I was 9 weeks pregnant, and they gave me a due date of November 27th. And then the second time, and every time after that I went, they changed it to November 24th, and it kind of just stayed like that, which was Black Friday. That day happened to land on Black Friday. All my family and I wanted to me to deliver on Thanksgiving, which was the 23rd. So when we were having Thanksgiving dinner, like any move I'd make, they'd be like, "Are you feeling anything?" But throughout my whole pregnancy, I never felt Braxton Hick or anything, so I had no idea what to expect when feeling a contraction. So nothing happened on the 23rd, nor the 24th, nor the 25th. Like, I felt like normal. So on the 26th, when it came around, it was Sunday. I asked my husband if I could go to church because I felt fine, and he said yeah. I even danced and jumped at church. Nothing happened. So we decided to invite friends over to our place and play like games and cards. And I believe they left around 7 o'clock at night that Sunday. And then, this is kind of TMI, but I was basically begging my husband to make love with me, or to make love with me. Whatever, because I heard it's a natural inducer. So we did that, and then afterwards, I believe it was like around 8:30 at this point, where we decided to eat McDonald's with his brother. So I ate a Big Mac combo meal, and then it was about like 9 o'clock or so when my stomach started hurting. And David was like, "Is it a contraction?" And I was like, "No, it's probably just the food I ate. I probably just have to go poop." That's all I thought it was, honestly. But once I started making his lunch for the next day, like I was making his chicken, like they were hurting. It was getting a little bit stronger, so I decided to go to the bathroom, and then I saw like my bloody show, and that got me really excited. So I got out and I told them like, yeah, I bled a little bit. His mom immediately got happy. She's like, "The baby's coming, the baby's coming." So David was like, "Okay, try to time them." So I was in my room alone. I remember like I had this app and I was trying to time them, but I didn't really know like when they started or when they ended, and I thought I was timing them wrong because it looked like it was coming like very frequently, and I was like, you know what, it was just annoying me, so I decided to throw that out the window. So David was like, "Are you timing them?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Alright, how come we don't take a walk, and then I'll time them for you, and then we'll see from there." So I'm like, okay. So him, his brother, and then we took the two puppies on a walk. At this point, I want to say it was like 10 or something. He called my sister, my little sister, and he was just like, "Hey, I don't want to worry or anything. Like, she just started getting contractions, so they're probably nothing, but just heads up." She got so excited. She told my dad, and then she was like, okay. She said she couldn't go to sleep anymore, so she started watching a show, and she told my dad like, "Hey, they called. It's not a big deal. It just started happening, so let's just wait till they call us back." My dad immediately got dressed, and he was like, "Okay, let's go." And she's like, "What do you mean? Like, they just said they just started getting contractions, they'll call us back." He's like, "Nope, I have a feeling she's gonna give birth soon." And he called my older sister. And my older sister, I remember when I was walking, I barely started my walk, she texted me like, "I'm gonna go over." And I was like, "No," like I told my husband to not call anyone, because I had a feeling like that like it was too early, and I just started getting him. And then but he insisted, so my older sister was like, "No, I'm gonna go." So she was on her way, and then like on our walk, my husband said that it was every 2 minutes my contractions, but I thought he was timing them differently, or like I didn't know, because it felt like just like a strong period cramp, and it hurt, but like when they hurt, I just had to stop and then I would breathe through them, and then I walked again, and then I was like in a good mood. It wasn't until we came back, like we started coming back from the walk, where they were hurting more, and my husband, because we took Lamaze class, and he was like, oh, you know what, you should try talking through them, because if you can't talk through them, then it's probably time. So I'm like, okay. So him and his brother were asking me questions, and that's when they heard more, and my answers were very like short, and like you can tell I was getting a little bit irritated. We were around the corner when they were hurting really bad at this point, and I didn't want to like hear anyone, see anyone, nothing. And I remember the dogs were barking, and they were annoying me because his brother would like stop with us every time I stopped. He would stop walking, and I was like, David, tell your brother to just go ahead of us, like go, like leave, like I don't want to see them. So he told them, because every contraction I'd stop, and it was every 2 minutes, so it's frequent. I think it was like a whole hour that we walked, so I think it was like 11 by the time we came to the house. And I remember when we were outside the door, I can hear my sister and my mother-in-law laughing, and I was like, David, I don't want to see anyone, I don't want to hear anyone, like just get me to the bathroom as soon as possible. And I'm like, I don't even want you in there. And he's like, no, Grace, like I'm gonna be with you just in case anything happens, and if you need me. I'm like, okay, but don't talk to me. Like I'm telling you, I didn't want anyone. So I was like, I feel like pushing, like I feel like I just want to sit on the toilet, and like hopefully that brings me relief. So I sat on the toilet, and I told him to like put the sink on, because I just wanted to hear running water. Like I didn't want to hear anyone outside. So the lights were off, the sink was running, and I was on the toilet. But like that wasn't helping me. I wasn't comfortable. So I told him to start me a bath. So I went in the bathtub, and I remember him telling me, like, if it's 11:30, I'm gonna call the doctor, because he wanted to call the doctors. My biggest fear, I was like, I don't want to go to the hospital and then tell me to come back. He's like, I'm calling the doctor, because he saw that like I was in pain like at that point. So he called the doctors, he told them what was happening, and they're like, yeah, bring her in. And he was surprised that they didn't want to talk to her or anything, because I guess by like him telling them that they were every 2 minutes, they were like, yeah, she needs to come in. So at this point, oh, I have low battery. Ooh. So at this point, I started freaking out, and I told my husband, like, I don't want to go to the doctors. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not going. He's like, Grace, what do you mean you're not going? I'm like, nope, I'm having this baby here in the tub. And he was like, you are not having this baby here. I'm like, yes, I don't want to go to the doctors, because nurses are going to talk to me, the lights are going to be on, I'm not going to be comfortable, I'm not leaving here. And he was like, you're leaving. Like, I was arguing with him. I was like, no, my body was meant to do this. I know I can have the baby here and we'll be fine. He was like, it's not sterile. I'm like, I have alcohol. Like, I was just fighting with him back and forth. He's like, I'm bringing your clothes now. So he left. He packed his bag really quick. He brought me clothes. And he's like, get in them. I'm like, no. And I wasn't thinking straight, because it was hurting like a lot at this point. And he forced me out of the tub. And as soon as I got out of the tub, I sat back down in the toilet. He's like, no, Grace, get changed. And I did not want to go. And I remember, like, if it was him telling me this story, he'd say that Lamaze went out the window. But I feel like it helped, because they say Lamaze is like, the pain, if you focus on the pain, it'll hurt more. You have to get your mind off of it. It's like a mind game. And they say a contraction has like it's like a little wave. Like, it has a peak where it hurts the most. And as soon as that peak is over, like the rest, like coming down, like you can deal with it. You just have to get over the peak. And I remember, like, it hurt so bad that I was telling myself, like, you just have to get over the peak, because I always wanted a natural birth. It was my desire. So what was helping me get through the peak was pushing. And they say not to push, because if you're not dilated enough and you push, you can swell up and basically reverse the process, and it could take even longer to deliver. But the only thing that was helping me get through the peak was pushing. So when I was on the toilet, I was already pushing. My husband freaked out. He thought I was going to have the baby there. He was like, don't push. And I was just ignoring him. Like, I wasn't thinking. I was just pushing. And my sister was freaking out. I remember my sister, I can hear her. She's like, can you feel the baby's head? And I was like, no. She's like, do you want to have, she's like, you have to go to the hospital, or if you want to have birth here, let me know. if you want to give birth here, let me know so I can call someone. I remember her saying that, and I was just pushing, and my husband at this point, this was very much needed, and I'm glad he did it. Like, he slapped me, like my thighs, like hard. He was like, boom, look at me. You are getting dressed, and we're going to the doctor's now. And I was like, I remember, like, I finally, you know, listened to him, and I was like, okay. And he did get dressed, so he helped me get dressed, and I was just, I didn't want to, like, move or anything because I knew every 2 minutes it was gonna hit. Like, they were coming, like, so frequent. So I told him, like, everyone was annoying me at that point. I could hear his, like, mom talking to me, so I told him, tell my sister to get your mom and your brother into the car and to meet us at the hospital. I don't want to see anyone. So they left before us, and then we got to the car, and I would stop every time I would get a contraction. And we got to the car, and then at that point he started driving a little bit, and then when I would get a contraction, I would tell him to stop driving. Like, it was, that's how bad it hurt. Like, I didn't want to move at all. And I was so uncomfortable in the car. Like, I don't know if I wanted to lay down and sit up, like, no matter what, it was hurting. But I do remember I wanted the music blasting. The music was so high, and the song on was God's Not Dead, He's Surely Alive. And I was just trying to get my mind off the pain. So I was just listening to the lyrics, and I was, like, singing it in my head, like, He's surely alive. It was really loud. And I was telling him to drive fast, but then he was driving so fast that I was like, slow down, you know, be safe. And then we got to the hospital, and my sister asked, my sister was there already, and she went ahead, and she's pregnant, my older sister. She's like, do you want a wheelchair? And I said yes. And she ran to get me the wheelchair, because all I wanted was to be sitting, like, if I was on the toilet. And then my husband would, like, touch me, try to massage me, because he learned all this in Lamaze, and I'd be like, leave me alone. I did not want to be touched or anything. And he was telling me, like, don't push. And I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to push. Like, don't tell me. Like, I'm trying. Because I'm telling you, that's the only thing that can get me through the peak. So when my sister brought the wheelchair, I told her, I'm like, you have 2 minutes. That was, like, my motto for the night. I wanted everything to be done in 2 minutes because the contraction was going to come, and I didn't want to move. So she ran me, like, in the wheelchair to the entrance, and she hit a pole. I remember, but I didn't even care because I just wanted her to go as fast as she could. And then we got into the elevator. When we saw the nurses, I already knew. They annoyed me so much because they were asking me so many questions, and I was in pain. I was, like, talking through my teeth like that. They had me sign different documents. My husband said that by the second time I signed, I was like, like, I was really rude to them. So I got into triage. Triage is the room where they check you to see if you're enough centimeters dilated so that they can give you the delivery room. So this was the part I was dreading, because throughout the whole way I was like, David, if they tell me to go back, I'm going to kill you. So they're like, ma'am, I need you to lay down. And I was like, no, I didn't want to lay down. Like, even in the bed, the hospital bed, I was sitting down because it felt the most comfortable to me. And they're like, ma'am, you're gonna need to lay down so that we can check you. I'm like, fine. So I lay down. I'm like, you have 2 minutes. And they were like, ma'am, you're 6 centimeters dilated. And I remember looking at my husband. He's like, I told you so. And I was like, kiss me. And he was like, his face when I said kiss me, he was like, what? Like, I caught him off guard. And I was like, kiss me. And he kissed me. And I remember being so happy and just thinking, like, you know, once it's 10 centimeters, the pain is gone. Because that's what they tell you in Lamaze. Because the reason, you know, you contract so that you can dilate. So by the time you're in 10 centimeters, like, there's, you know, no pain. No contraction, at least. So I remember, like, thinking that and thinking I'm going to meet my son soon. And I was so excited. And I was just glad I didn't have to go back home. And then they're like, okay, ma'am, we're going to have to put you the little belt monitor, like, to hear the baby's heartbeat. And I had to be laying down for that, and I couldn't move because if I moved, the belt would come off and they couldn't get his heart beat. So I was like, no, I don't want that. And they're like, ma'am, we need to check if your baby's alright. I'm like, my baby's healthy. They're like, yes, but anything can happen. And I was, like, arguing with them. Obviously they won because they need to check the baby's heartbeat. I wasn't thinking properly. So then they wanted to give me an IV before putting me to the delivery room. And I was like, I don't want the IV, like I don't want any pain medication. And they were like, no, you need the IV, ma'am. And I was like, okay, you have 2 minutes. And they're like, it's gonna take longer than 2 minutes, you're just gonna have to fight it through. So I was like, fine. And then they give me the IV. I remember they rolled me to the delivery room, and I felt like pushing, like really bad. All this time I was like kind of sitting up, so my back was killing me. I remember telling my husband, like, my back is killing me. And I asked the nurse if I can give birth either in doggy style or squatting, and she told me no because it was dangerous for the baby. And I knew that was a lie because I've read books on it. And I was like, no, it's not. And she was like, well, you're gonna have to wait till the doctor gets here. And I was so annoyed, and I felt like pushing. I was already pushing. And the nurse was like, ma'am, you can't push. I'm like, no, I'm pushing. At this point, I didn't even care. I was pushing like with my strength. And she was like, okay, let me check you. She checked me. You guys, this was in a couple of minutes. I was already 9.5 centimeters dilated. She didn't listen to me. So she was like kind of low-key freaking out. She was calling, I think she called like 3 doctors. They were all busy. So to distract me and to kind of like get the process going, she was coaching me through pushing. And basically you just have to like hold your breath for 10 seconds and push, and then you can breathe again, but try not to breathe to the point where like you bring the baby back up. So I was like pushing, and I remember it felt good to push. Obviously it hurt, but it felt good to push. And then the doctor finally came, and I think it was like 10 pushes in all. But I do remember, like, since I had to be on my back, which was so uncomfortable, it doesn't feel natural to push on your back. And they say the only reason, like, you know, in the hospitals you have to push on the back is for like the doctor's convenience, because they can see everything. But I remember since my legs had to be on those stirrups, my legs started cramping, both of them. Oh, I don't even remember it hurting that much pushing. It was my leg cramps. My legs were shaking and they were cramping. Oh, I hated it so bad. I told my husband, like, my legs are cramping. And I wanted to take them down with the stirrups, and I was trying to, but they were like, no, the baby's head is almost there. And they're like, just keep through. And I like felt a burning sensation down there. It was like the ring of fire. Oh, but it happened so fast. I think it was just 10 pushes, and I felt his I do recall like my husband saying, I see his head, like he's a chubby baby. And then you just feel, I didn't feel his head coming out, but I did feel, because everything was burning, but I did feel when his shoulders and his whole body, like it slid out, and I felt it, like all these little body parts. And it was the most craziest thing. Like when I saw him, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock because it happened so fast. But I was so happy. And I don't know if it was because you have like kind of like adrenaline rush, that it doesn't hurt as bad as I thought I was gonna die through this. Like, people make it seem like you need drugs, and I'm not judging people who get drugs or epidural. This was just what I wanted, and I wasn't opposed to it. Like, I was told my husband, if I ask for them a couple of times, and if you know it's not the contractions talking but me, like, you know, give them to me. But we did have a plan. Like, we said we were gonna walk or take a shower, like, before you know, I asked for them again to see if I still asked for them, but we didn't have time to do anything. Everything went out the window because it happened so fast. When I got my first contraction to when I gave birth to him, everything was 4 hours. From the first contraction to delivery, I gave birth at 1 in the morning, so the 27th, which was the first date that the doctor told us. So it was such a beautiful experience, but they gave him to me for a bit while I pushed the placenta out. Everything was fast, and then they gave him to my husband because they had to sew me up. I feel like that hurt more. They gave me like local anesthesia, and then I felt it. I was like wincing, and the doctor noticed, and she was like, do you want me to give you like, you know, drugs like through the IV? But I wanted to say yes, but I thought it through, and I was like, I've already done this without drugs. That I don't want to be like, you know, all drugged and meet my baby. Like I want to be like alert. So I was like, no. I'm like, can you hurry up? And she's like, no. Like he was born 8 pounds and 2 ounces. So she's like, no, you know, there's a lot of bit of tearing here. I asked her, like, you know, what degree I am. She's like, your 2nd degree, but with an extension, whatever that means. She's like, I have to take my time here. And oh, I felt like forever. I don't know if I felt like forever because it was forever, or because I was seeing my baby and I wanted to be with him. But I felt like that was the most painful or the most dreaded part, because the adrenaline wears off and you're just impatiently like waiting, and like it hurts. Oh, it hurts so bad. But yeah, that is my story. So he was born at 1 in the morning, 8 pounds 2 ounces, 19 inches long. And oh, I was so happy. Like the baby was crying and my husband started singing to him and he immediately calmed down, and the doctor was like, your husband has a very nice voice. And I'm like, yeah, he does. He has the worship leader at church. And I was trying to like focus on them while getting messages down it. But yeah, it was so beautiful. Like I said, I don't judge anyone who wants a epidural or gets drugs. Maybe I'll get them for my next baby, but this is just something I wanted. And if you guys want a natural free birth, like let me tell you, it is possible. You can do it. Our bodies were made for this. Listen to your body, and like it's just a mind thing. Like I was thinking about my mom. She passed away, for those of you who don't know, when I conceived my son. And I was thinking about her. She did all 4 natural, but all of her pregnancies were like, all her labor and pregnancies were fast. So my dad got ready. He's like, I knew, like as soon as your sister told me that you were getting contractions, like I knew you were gonna be like your mom. So she had all of us really fast, and no, you know, drugs or anything. So I always wanted to do that, and I was so happy that I did. And they say the second one is even quicker, so I hope so. But yeah, the nurses were all surprised, and I don't like that. Like, if obviously they want to give you drugs, like that's fine. But I don't like that they asked me like a lot of times, like throughout my stay there. Not my stay, because it was so fast. But they were like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yes, like I'm sure." And then I don't like that they don't like encourage you to not, or like help you if you said no. Like it looked like they were trying to convince me. But it was a good feeling when after the nurses were like, oh, your epidural has to wear down before you use the restroom. And I was like, oh, I didn't get an epidural. And they're like, no, like this was your first baby? And I'm like, yeah. And they said, they're like, was it because it was so fast or because you didn't want it? And I was like, well, both. It was so fast that I probably, if I wanted it, it was no time. But also like this is something I wanted. So I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of all you mamas though, whether you have a C-section, epidural, you crank those drugs up. You crank those drugs up. You crank up those drugs. Whatever method you had, I'm just proud of you. You brought a beautiful baby into this world, and that's all that matters, that you and your baby are healthy. So I'm proud of me. I'm proud of you. Oh, by the way, today is International Women's Day, so let's just be proud of everyone. All women. We're strong. Even if you don't have babies, I'm proud of you. Women are amazing, guys. Our bodies are amazing. So yeah, alright. Have a good night. I'm like really tired, so I'm gonna end this here.